Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be talking about the Fortnite map. Right now, a lot of players are very upset about the current state of the game, and even though you can point to specific things like mechs or the lack of mobility to explain that, I personally believe that the Fortnite map is probably the biggest underlying problem with the game right now that's making it considerably less fun to play than it really should be. There's a bunch of different reasons why that's the case, and throughout this video we'll talk about them and also how they can potentially be fixed. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so in my opinion, one of the biggest problems with the current Fortnite map is the fact that there are just so many uninteresting towns that for some reason have stayed in the game for such a long period of time. Let's use a town like Junction as an example here. I'm sure there are at least some people out there who like Junction and maybe even use it as a main landing spot, but it's a small, mostly uninteresting town without great loot or any kind of mobility that literally could not be any further away from the middle of the map. Other than the fact that you can probably land uncontested there pretty much every single game, I really see nothing about Junction that would make me ever want to go there. And I play Fortnite pretty much every single day, and I probably haven't been in Junction in at least 6 months or so. And honestly, all the things I just said about Junction could also be applied to Haunted Hills, which is literally right next to it on the map. Both of these towns have been in the game since the start of Season 2, which was pretty much 2 full years ago. And the list definitely doesn't just stop with those 2 towns. There are plenty of other outskirts areas like Lonely Lodge and Lucky Landing, for example, which have been in the game since the very beginning, yet have remained almost entirely untouched the entire time. Then you take a look at towns towards the middle of the map, which are almost guaranteed to get traffic no matter what, and so many of them have received numerous major changes in that same time frame. Original Tilted Towers was added after most of those outskirts towns I just mentioned, yet it was turned into Neo Tilted a few seasons later, and then it was changed again at the beginning of Season X to Tilted Town. Loot Lake was honestly probably the most updated point of interest in the entire game, basically being changed in some way every single season. It's been a part of so many different events, and at one point was even briefly changed to Leaky Lake. Dusty Depot was changed to Dusty Divot for a while, now it's back to being Dusty Depot, and is still even undergoing minor changes after each new update in this season. And finally, Retail Row was changed to Mega Mall for a full season or so, and now it's back to being Retail Row again. Pretty much the only central town that's remained as unchanged as a lot of these outskirts towns is Salty Springs. And on top of all that, even the outskirts areas of the map which have been somewhat recently updated are still fairly underwhelming drop spots. I don't think the landing spots in the snowy or jungle area of the map are as bad as some of the towns that I mentioned earlier, but there's honestly just nothing exciting enough about towns like Polar Peak or Sunny Steps that would make me want to go out of my way to land or rotate to them. And trust me, I'm not just hating on these towns because they aren't towards the middle of the map. I think outskirts towns like Paradise Palms, Pleasant Park, and Greasy Grove are totally fine because they're large and interesting towns with really good loot that also have solid mobility options. The next major issue with the Fortnite map as it currently stands are the rift zones which continue to be added in Fortnite Season X. People complained about these from the very beginning with things like the no building zone in Tilted and zombie spawners in Retail Row, but it's somehow gotten even more ridiculous than that. The whole prop hunt thing in Moisty Palms and random dancing in Greasy Grove honestly has no place in regular Fortnite Battle Royale. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen some clips of how absurd it can get in certain situations, especially in competitive Fortnite. Plus, what you're starting to see is that a good amount of players are just avoiding these Rift Zone areas altogether. Anytime I play in a game where I care more about getting the win than just getting a high amount of kills, I'm gonna avoid areas like Tilted Town, Moisty Palms, and Greasy Grove, because I just feel like the skill gap in those specific Rift Zone areas is considerably less than it is everywhere else on the map. Now, here's why that's actually very problematic and is having a really negative impact on Fortnite in general. When you combine super uninteresting and underpopulated outskirts towns with super fluky Rift Zone towns that players will make a conscious effort to avoid, it causes overpopulation in certain towns and areas of the map which simply aren't built to handle it. The perfect example of this right now is the town Salty Springs. Despite being super populated pretty much every single game, Salty's actually a really small town with only about 5 total houses. It plain and simple can't handle the amount of people who land there, which in some games can be between 15 and 20 players. It's not like old Tilted Towers, which was totally fine sustaining that many people because of the amount of different buildings. You'll have 3 to 4 enemies on different teams just running around in the same house, and whoever gets lucky enough to find the 1 or 2 weapons that actually spawned will end up killing everybody else. So why do so many people land there if they know it's going to be absolute chaos? Well, because in their mind, complete chaos is better than accidentally crouching and becoming a toilet, or landing in Junction and spending the first 5 minutes of the game running in a straight line to the safe zone. And all the overpopulation of these towns that aren't designed to handle it leads to an absurd amount of players dying early in matches. I think that Fortnite believed that by removing a bunch of mobility at the beginning of Season X, it would make it so that players die considerably slower at the beginning of matches. But I'm still seeing tons of games where before the first storm even starts moving, so that's maybe 3 to 4 minutes into the game, there's only 25 to 30 players left. That's obviously incredibly problematic, and it makes the rest of the game so boring to play. So how exactly should Fortnite go about fixing these problems with the map? Well, probably my biggest want for Season 11, which is only about 3 weeks away at the time I'm making this video, is that there needs to be meaningful changes made to the points of interest throughout the entire Fortnite map, but especially places at the edge of the map. I understand that Fortnite's whole philosophy is to update the map slowly, season after season, but I think that we're long overdue for a huge change to the map. I think that's what a lot of people were hoping was going to happen at the beginning of Fortnite Season X, but sadly that really wasn't the case. And here's the most important part about that. Not only does it just have to be new points of interest, but they also need to be good points of interest that a solid chunk of players will actually go out of their way to visit and land at. When a new average town like Sunny Steps is added into the game, a decent amount of players will land there for a few days, but then it'll die down pretty quickly within the first week or so. And since the majority of players nowadays care more about getting a lot of kills than actually winning the game, people will just go right back to landing at the same 3 to 5 towns in the middle of the map. Plus, on top of all that, I think the vast majority of Fortnite players would agree that all the Rift Zones from Season X definitely need to go. Now, the good news is, it was discovered sometime last week that there are basically 10 plus new town names which were discovered in the Fortnite in-game files. So it definitely isn't guaranteed, but I feel like the most logical explanation for that is that we can expect those towns to be added into the game in Season 11, and hopefully they do enough to make the map feel fresh and interesting again. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. Do you guys believe that the Fortnite map is in need of a major change, or do you think it's mostly fine the way it currently is? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.